Now from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, creatures of the night.
Hello, Uglies, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night. And this is the special edition of the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night because this is our Post Mortem series where we're going back and rewatching old episodes of the Boulet Brothers Dragula.
Ooh.
As always, we are your ghost hosts for the evening, Drakmorda.
And Swanthula.
Your queens of darkness, and we are here to guide you through tonight's festivities.
Through the darkness.
Through the rock show, really.
And into the light, Caroline.
So one thing I want to talk about, people have been excited about this recap. It's getting people to go back and rewatch the old seasons, which I think is really cool. And they're like, it's great to hear from you in the off season. So I appreciate that. But one thing that I've noticed is people have asked, or people have said, I love the on location challenges so much. Why don't you all do them anymore?
When will you bring them back?
And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like me and the audience that we're not connecting because I'm like, we go on location every season. The only one that we didn't go out a lot on was 5 because we had that brand new stage and all that new, you know?
Yes, that's true.
Anyways, but we always, even last season, we went out, what, like 3 or 4 times?
Yeah, I think we opened at the haunted house and there was the Dungeons and Dragons out in the woods, and there was another one too that I'm not recalling right now, but I don't know what it is either. It's not just a disconnect with you, it disconnects with me too, because even in this rewatch I'm getting reminded of all of the glory goodness of season 2, but you do see them out in the ghost town, but not every challenge is on location, and I don't know that even back then it was much more than it is now.
No, yeah, I don't think there was like 3, I think, in the first season. But you know what it might be? It might be because we don't do the entire episode on the location anymore, which we used to do.
Right.
So we would have them do their getting ready time, do the floor show, judgment, everything would be on the location. So maybe it felt like with the whole episode there, it felt like you're on a break.
Yeah. I could see that.
I don't know if we could ever do that again.
It's such a big lift, and the show has like evolved in so many ways. One of the biggest challenges is getting guest judges out in the middle of these places where it's like, hi, let me ask you to be on the show, see if you want to be a part of it. Oh, right, we have to drive to Death Valley and you'll be out there for 12 hours.
They're like, no.
They're like, you lost me.
Jamie Lee Curtis is like, I'll come to your set for 4 hours, but you want me to take 4 hours to drive back and forth to Death Valley? I'm not coming.
I don't think so.
So yeah, I don't know what viewers are, looking for. Maybe you can message us at creatures@BouletBrothersDragula.com and let us know, because I don't get it. I'm not mad about it. And I want them to feel like we're going out enough. So.
Yeah, maybe they can bring some clarity. If you're listening and you have an opinion, let us know.
It's funny because our producer, Aaron, is always like, oh my God, you guys take us out of the set so much. And it drives him crazy, know? But
because it costs money.
Yeah, well, we pushed so hard last year to go out as much as possible. Anyways, one more thing we should talk about before we get into the recap is the horror movie that we just watched called Presence. Because people probably miss our recaps because we've been doing these post-mortem things. So we should talk just a little bit about what we've been watching.
Yeah. Clearly, people are very hungry for their junior mints. Drax got a sweet tooth, so we're going to do a little quick impromptu movie review. Yes, we kind of went on a whim to see Presence. I knew nothing about it, and I kind of love going into movies like that where I haven't seen one trailer. I know nothing other than it's supposed to be a haunting movie. So haunting can kind of fuck with me. So I'm like, ooh, I'm prepping myself mentally to get scared. And I think at the end, once everything's said and done, I never really got scared. But I felt the story was compelling and kind of interesting. And there's a hook and a thing that happens that's unexpected. And it's very late in the film, but it kind of reframes the whole thing. And it makes it kind of force multiplies how interesting it is.
I really enjoyed it, actually. I wasn't sure at first. It was definitely a slow build. And halfway through the movie, I'm like, this isn't a horror movie. Yeah. This is like sad. It's like a
emotional
trauma.
Yeah.
And it did start to get a little bit, more supernatural at the end, I feel like. I think the reveal at the end was really interesting. I don't want to spoil it for people, but if you're hearing this, you should go watch the movie and let us know what you think about it as well.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. And on that note, we're going to take our first break, and when we return, we'll be joined by Ian and on with the show.
Ian.
Ian.
Welcome to the show.
Oh my God, I am no longer the number one commander of a Nurgle pestilence plague army. I am here at the table. I'm back.
Amazing. How are you feeling?
Like a brand new bitch.
Okay.
Yep.
How-
Ooh, snatched and skinny.
How are you liking sitting at the seance of Creatures of the Night table for the first time?
It's everything. It's so good. And the best part about being at this seance is the two Boulet mannequin dolls are over. The killer dolls are right here just waiting to get possessed by a spirit. I love them.
Our Chucky dog.
They're so cute.
They are.
I gotta show Don those. I think he would love them.
Yeah.
So just to update the fans, how's the whole fire situation going down?
Fire situation is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, we went back to our place and everything is covered in a layer of smoke and soot and ash. And so we're having to throw away a lot of our belongings. Everything is damaged to a certain extent. And as a result of that, we're going to have to move.
God.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
It is what it is. I am choosing to look at this as the universe is going to throw 1,000 things into your arena. And at a certain point, you have to grab the bull by the horns and just get back on and go. And so that's kind of where we're at. But,
And you will. I think
yeah.
you'll rise to the occasion. I feel like you cannot go up the mountain unless you go down into the valley. And I feel like,
yeah.
I believe I think we've talked about it before.
Yeah,
we were in
a few years ago when we were your age, we went through a similar thing.
Yeah,
It
but
was
it
a dark
actually,
time.
it was the darkest time, but it
Yes.
ended up growing into the brightest time. So
Yeah.
Totally. It can't stay dark forever, although, it is fabulous over here in the darkness. But it'll be okay. It's, I think that the most important thing is just staying positive in times like this and getting to hang out with my girls here at
Yes.
Creatures of the Night.
Love and light, staying the positive, bitch.
Exactly.
All right, so let's get into this episode of the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 2, Episode 3, The Monsters of Rock.
Ooh, yes.
Did we
So
even
good.
call it Monsters of Rock back then?
We
I don't
called it
remember.
Drag Monsters of Rock.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there is in the challenge issuing, it's your theme is shock rock and metal. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hell yeah, let's go.
Rock goddesses of the past. It's cool. This is the first time we do what becomes a staple, I think, in Dragula. And I must say, it's my opinion that the first is still the best. I think
for Monsters of Rock?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the fake and PMS are like, it is the best battle of the bands we've had to date.
I love it. I am going to give a special shout out to, actually, I don't know, because I was thinking about House of Horrors, which is so good for season
Welcome
3.
to
the House of Horrors. So, the song is so just aggressive and bratty. And then I love Poppy, so season 4. I just love Monsters of Rock. I get why the fans love it, but
Pissed
PMS
it
and
away.
the fake. Who pissed it away? Hell yeah.
It was, oh my God,
It's
it was so
awesome.
satisfying. It really I think these two episodes are a great little time capsule. Peak Dragula.
Oh, yeah.
Episodes 3 and 4 of season 2.
absolutely.
Yeah, so much good stuff.
So we have our intro, which is absolutely
Yes.
ridiculous. We eat the pizza guy.
It's so fun. I love it.
I love it too. And I have to say, because I wasn't here for it, but I was the presence earlier when I was listening to y'all talk about the fans, the locations. This reminds me of at the time when people be like, these intros are so weird. They never made, they're not connected. What is the point? I'm like, holy shit. Listening back, I'm like, it's so many rock and roll references.
Right, yeah.
The whole script is rock and roll.
Sometimes I forget people are dumb too.
Yeah, me too.
So we kill Bruin.
Yeah.
We do.
And
He
I'm
made
ha-
for a good snack.
He did. He
Yeah.
was a tasty Italian snack. I like this hair too. Like this
blue
weird
hair.
blue kind
Yeah,
of
it's
updo.
kinda-
I'm
I'm
like,
kinda
this is
feeling
cute.
it, yeah.
I think we wore our skunk wraps with that blue hair once at Queen Kong, and I remember that picture so
Oh,
well because the
yeah.
color blocking was so good. Red gloves too.
Yes. Oh my God, I remember the red gloves.
Yeah.
She was bold back then.
She was a bold bitch.
Now it's strictly black.
I feel like this era of the intros is very much like the demented housewife era of y'all's
Yeah.
drag.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love it. It's so bratty and ridiculous and strange. I love it.
It is strange, that's for sure. And you know what else is strange?
Oh, I know a few things that are strange with this episode.
Oh,
I want to point out our challenge issuing because I think this is the first time we really kind of went up on a big screen and we've gotten better at it. But there were a few things that I really liked about it because the idea was that we were almost like the wizards from
Right.
the Wizard of Oz. And with the intense echo and like the vignetting, in this case, it was flames. I thought that it was really successful.
I liked it too.
I kind of want to bring some of that back in challenging issues for the future.
I like it. And that's
Yeah.
we see Ian too pulling the strings
Yeah.
behind.
Yes.
I love
Oh
it.
my
Yeah, I really thought that was cool.
me and my Mr. Sister Israel
That's
just hard at work in
right.
the bowels of the mansion.
girls.
That place had that stuff built in too. Remember it had all
Yeah.
that weird Frankenstein mad scientist stuff in it?
I think we'll see a lot more of this later in the season, but it's actually one of my favorite things about filming season 2 is we were fresh in the globe. So
Yeah.
there are so many times we're like, that's weird. Let's go film it. Don't know what it's for, but let's do it.
That place was like a fictional like house of mystery or something because there were always extra levels that we had never seen before.
Yeah.
Either deep down in some sub basement or up in the attic. Even the last time, and remember, we were very familiar with that place for like 10 years probably. The last year we were there, someone showed me how to get all the way up to where the artwork would hang, like way up in the, there was a little ladder that went across. I would never walk on it. Yeah, so
It's funny because we did spend a lot of time at the Globe, and you see the Globe stage in the finale of season 1. We end up moving the show there, and that's where you get this big, huge the LED screen and the kind of like rock and roll live venue vibe, which I think was appropriate for the time. Then we started doing our Halloween ball there, and then we eventually moved. So that it's definitely like the end of an era when we closed the chapter on the Globe. But kind of interesting, before the Globe was the Globe, it was called the 740 because it's on 740 Broadway. And at the end, when they're going out to the tattoo bus, you see the 740 etched in the glass. And it's kind of cool. It's cool to see that as a little time capsule.
Absolutely.
for people that don't know the Globe Theater, it's like this historic. It's like a haunted theater or something. It's massive and it has a ton of history. And we thought for the show, we wanted to feel, because we're always big on performances and live performance, we wanted it to feel like you're in a theater like that. And I think it was successful for as long as we could use it.
I agree. That was the world we came from too. And I
Right.
think you can see it rippling through the show in so many ways, including like the guest judges. We see Heklina on the judges panel, and that's just a clubland relationship.
Definitely. All right, so then we get to the boudoir of this episode, and Dolly reveals his HIV status, which I thought at the time was really powerful.
Yeah.
It's interesting to go back and watch that now because, yes, you're right. Like at the time, I remember being in the boudoir and just thinking, wow, this is such an intense story from an artist who I have known prior to this and who now I'm seeing now. But watching it this past week, I was like, oh my God, this hits so hard. It's
Yeah.
really affecting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. And I thought Disasterina's talking with
Yeah.
him about it was really interesting too.
I agree. Everyone resonates with such a kind of like tangible realness, I think, in the boudoir so far in season 2. It's not coerced or rehearsed or presented. It's them just having conversations.
There's something about, I think, people becoming self-aware. Like when we did season 2, the cast wasn't self-aware. So they'd be walking in front of the cameras and each other, and there'd be multiple conversations going on. Whereas now I notice when we film, everyone looks, they sort of stand around the table naturally because now they've seen everyone do that since season 4. So now that's what they do. They walk up to the table and stand around it and then talk one at a time.
Yeah.
Totally.
Because they're aware, which, I don't know how you could break that.
I'm not sure. I think that there might be something of the right level of alchemy with the cast, because one of the things I love about what you just said and this cast in general is they're not afraid to break off and just talk to one another, and it's not even that they're talking about what's going on or things that don't even impact the challenge. They're just like, okay, well, hey, Disasterina, and I love this quote. Have you told your parents that you're heteroflexible?
Yeah.
And it's just such a like funny, weird, off-putting thing to say, but then it also allows Disasterina to tell their own story, which is also
kind of heartbreaking.
Really personal.
I think I forgot
wow.
that I misplaced that piece of information.
I remembered
Same.
that.
Yeah.
Because it was, everyone's always like, you should come out no matter what. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, but that's one of those situations
Yes.
like this does not apply.
Totally.
I get
Yeah.
it completely.
No, for sure.
I have one final quote from Boudoir. That's
Okay.
my favorite. So they're talking, I can't remember what the context is, but they're like, oh yeah, it's like, Disasterina says, I just think that we all need to like put our makeup on and just fuck or something. And someone goes, wow, all these tops and only one bottom, Erica's gonna get worn out. And it's Kendra. And I'm like, Kendra! It's so funny.
Holy shit.
I love it.
Well, they move into their solo looks, right? This is a season where no one forgot that there was actually a solo look, and honestly,
Sorry. Oh my God.
they all look so badass. I
awesome.
actually got a little bit in my feelings when I was watching them in the boudoir and then just coming out with their looks. We have a long history with these girls now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I feel connected to them, whether, they love me or hate me or whatever. I feel like a softness toward them. So I started getting emotional when I was watching them. I was like, yes, get them. Like they look so good.
I feel the same way. Like the floor shows for season 2 are just next level. And it is all testament to the ethos of the show. We want to present these artists looking their best. And I'm looking at them like of course, Bitch looks amazing. Dali looks fucking
so cool.
so cool.
So cool.
Even people who at the time I was like, oh, I don't know, this is my favorite. I'm like, Erica looks badass as fuck.
She
I'm
does.
like, everyone looks cool as hell.
Disasterina too. Like I just feel like there's a
Yeah.
lot of them that look great.
Mhm. And their band looks, I thought PMS's look was pretty cool. I
Hell
liked
yeah.
it.
Okay, when I watched recently the rewatch, I saw the fake and I was like, you know what? I got to make a note here and give Vicky some props for her lead performance because
Yes! Oh my God.
even if the look wasn't there, like the machismo, the ownership of the stage, flicking the hair and kind of all the physicality, I was like, wow, she's really giving like kind of a great performance. And then PMS came on and I was like, oh my God, of course, this is exactly how it went down.
I felt like Abora stood out as well. Like I think that look with on the stilts
Yeah.
with the big see-through skirt and all that, and James on the drums like really
Yeah.
stole attention. I feel
He
like.
did, but honestly, Kendra looked cool too.
I know.
Like Kendra on the guitar. Like Ian, you're throwing a face. What are you thinking?
I thought Kendra looked cool. I thought Abora looked cool. I thought Victoria looked cool. I thought James looked cool. James's drumming was bad then, and it is bad now.
It is bad, but what I felt like is that he was animated
Yeah.
to draw people's attention, whereas a lot of times the drummer just disappears.
Yeah. Why do you think that James Majesty is someone who likes attention?
Nah, I don't think so.
I will say that the drumming gets better as the show goes on because I think that
It culminates in Blackberry's performance, in my opinion.
Oh,
like Blackberry served the house down on the drums.
Blackberry does, but I was even saying in the Fakes show, like I think that at first it's almost like Majesty doesn't realize that they need to drum on beat. They're just kind of playing around. But then when and I didn't even realize this, I'm like, Victoria rips Majesty's tongue out with these pliers, and then there's this like bloodbath headbanging moment. I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's just a little half baked as a team.
But both of them had a concept, which I don't feel like anyone else has since then.
Now, Orgotic's band, though, they looked cool.
Visual
and they did have
concept.
they definitely
Yes,
had a
they
visual
did
concept.
have a cohesive sea monkey thing happening.
I
But
don't know why you're bagging on that. I loved that look.
I loved it too, but it was definitely giving like Conehead or like some kind of.
I just think I'm not going to name what the event was, but the Boulets and I used to have this inside joke where we were like, oh, these are our blank party drag looks. And we would talk about these like personas we would have. If we ever had a band, I want it to be Consensual Sea Monkey.
It's a good name.
It's really good.
Sounds
It
very
really
alt
is.
pop kind
Yeah.
of 90s.
Before we move on, I want to give some credit where it's due with the editing of this floor show too,
Yeah.
because like
Yes.
it was exceptional. Actually, both of these episodes, but props to Nathan, who, if you're listening, like I just remember how much I appreciate some of the ways that you approach editing. And one of my favorites is when he edits to the beat. Right. And the music is so bombastic. Hi, it's a music challenge. And then the visual is just matching the music. And it was so dynamic. Loved it.
Yeah, even the way it was shot, like it was a lot more handheld and close up and
Yeah.
dynamic rather than being on stick, sort of like getting a clean look.
Which is another note I made. I want to bring some of that back for the next season of the show.
I think so too.
For sure.
Definitely.
So let's talk about the guest judges for this this challenge.
I have in my notes, and it's weird because I haven't thought about this person in so long, but I love Michael Schmidt.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, I'm gonna go on a limb and say probably one of the nicest guest judges that's ever come through the door.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Which is so kind. And I just remember when he was on set, just looking around, being like, "Oh, this is fierce. This is so fierce. Like, congratulations to the Boulets," and just was easy to work with at a time where the stakes were high for our team. Like, and it just was, we had a lot of personalities come through the door. And I just always remember him being like very nice on set, which
Yeah. He's really respectable, and he's super creative, very connected, very charismatic, very perverted. So it's just
Yes.
10s across the board for me. I've known him for a million years. He gave me one of my first jobs in a club when I first moved to New York. And
love
he did a
it.
party called Squeeze Box there. And this was the age of live punk rock drag bands that would come there at this little coke infested bar on the west side. And it was so fabulous and so amazing. I had never been anywhere like that in my life. And I'm like, what a moment this was. But that was Michael's club.
Oh, cool.
And he's besties with Deborah Harry and designs for Cher, and has just has a really interesting career.
All right. So something we keep asking on these rewatches is, would you change the voting, who won, who was on the bottom, or any of that stuff?
I don't think so. I think Bitch looked great. She really got the assignment. It was Pete Burns on steroids. The hair was correct. The glam was correct. I did notice some diamonds though in the background where I was like, Dali in PMS with that. It was that muted black to purple and just the back bends and just Dali is a musician. So I think definitely brought that skill set to the table, but my eye just kept going there. I'm like, what a star.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think that the judging is very, very accurate for this episode. I think that Dali is a very close second, but sort of, I don't think that it's a rule, but is almost the unwritten rule, I guess, of Monsters of Rock is the team leader of the winning band is going to win the challenge generally.
Yeah.
Because, not only does Bitch look great, but Bitch leads the team.
Yeah.
I want to reverse engineer that challenge somehow. I want to figure out how more than one person can share the spotlight and potentially win. I don't know yet.
Ooh, I have some ideas.
Well, they both were sort of at this crossroads, right? Because Victoria looked amazing, but the performance wasn't coming through up until this point.
You're cracking me up because there's a line in there. One of us say it. We're like, Victoria, because you won the last challenge, you'll lead one band. And Bitch, because you sucked, you'll lead the other.
Right, because it was her moment of truth. She
Amazing.
like kind of rose up a little bit at the end of episode 2. So we're like,
Yeah.
you didn't go home. So here it is, sink or swim.
Yeah.
And if she had flopped that would have been it.
Yeah.
But I will say, if she did go home on episode 2, Dali would have been the lead singer for the other band. That's what we were thinking.
Yeah.
And then it would have been Dali versus Victoria. Could have been really interesting.
Ooh, I wonder what it would have been like if Monique was on the team with, this sort of like theoretical band with Dali as the lead singer. Would Monique's presence have made PMS's work easier, harder? What's the alchemy?
Harder because it was chaos, right? That was the thing about Monique. Monique had an aura of chaos around
Totally.
them. And you couldn't.
God, I miss her.
I know.
Well, there's other people that have had that. Desiree Dick had that on the last season of the show too. And it's like, it's amazing TV and it's really interesting, but then it's also a little scary because you don't know what's going to happen next.
It's wild card energy in the strangest way. Like I wish we would have been able to see more of Monique's drag, and I don't know if Monique's drag was ready for us to see more of it. But I think about the 2 looks that we saw in episode 2. it's time to go home. But episode 1 on a rewatch, I'm like, this shit is fucking scary.
Yeah.
Like,
It
you
And
are
her
a
performances
nightmare.
and presence was like through the roof.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Vicky and Kendra go to the body art bus to get some tattoos. And Vicky is now covered in tattoos.
Yeah.
But back then, this was her very
Her
first
tattoo.
one.
Yeah.
And many people might know this. She wanted the tattoo to say Dragula slut. Dragula slut. You understand? It makes sense,
Dragula
right?
slut.
Not slut Dragula. But it's like, it's so backward and weird. And now looking back, I think it's kind of perfect.
Yeah.
Right? It's like ridiculous, just like we are.
Yeah, it honestly is like, I'm like, this is correct. This is the right tattoo.
Speaking of ridiculous, I'm not going to do it justice. Maybe one of you guys could tell the story. This night was hectic because I don't remember if the filming ran late, but when it came time to do the death, I remember so vividly, we were in our place where Drac and I lived at the time.
I can tell you.
And we were trying to figure out like, oh my God, how are we going to kill Kendra? How are we going to kill her? What should we do? And Casey was there and you were there. I don't remember if Nathan was there.
yeah.
All of us were there, like 5 gays, like putting our heads together. We're like, oh my God, wait, we can do this. No, we can't do that. Like, I don't know. Like, oh my God, am I overthinking this? Like, what do we do?
Here's the best part.
Tell it.
So Kendra arrives and is outside because we're like, we'll wait outside for a minute because we're still in there figuring out what to do.
Yeah, like,
Literally.
hi, you're here. We have no script, no plan.
So we're
Hi.
like, well, can we do this? Well, I don't know. What kind of wig is she going to wear? Casey opens the door and goes, what wig are you going to wear? And she's like, the one on my head.
Got it.
So we scrambled and somehow came up with one of the best death
It's
scenes.
so
One of my
good.
favorite death scenes. I was watching it with pure joy for so many reasons. It was so good. Kendra performs the shit out of it, and it's right down the street from the fault line
Yes.
where
Oh, I
Dragula
don't-
started.
Yeah.
So crazy
Yeah.
right there. I love Kendra because when we had this scripted, I remember you wrote the line for her, oh, another parking ticket. But then when she opens, it says you, and she goes, bad bitch, say what? And that was not scripted.
So awesome.
Only Kendra can do
So
it.
good.
Kendra added a lot to the show in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like, yeah, and I thought it was cool that she got to come back on Titans and Resurrection and all that. Well,
And
maybe
she
we
was-
should put her on something else.
Yeah, well, she was one of our Nightmare Girls too.
Yeah.
Let's not forget.
Yeah.
I would pay to see Kendra on every season of anything. I'm just like Kendra on every show.
I mean, how long did we laugh about her in Resurrection when she was doing the crafting for the vampire?
To the point where we almost made it a YouTube show or a something where like we have to get Kendra crafting. We have to
Not
get
just there too. It was like it was a witch.
it. It was a witch. Yes. Oh, I love her.
All right, well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will answer all of your listener questions.
Welcome back, Uglies. It's time we reach into our bag of listener mail and answer all of your burning questions. Ian, would you do the honors?
I'm ready to plug it up and shut it up. PMS reference. I got it. Maurizio from Dallas, Texas writes, would you ever consider taking the franchise international? Like traveling to the Philippines and hosting a Filipino season? I know they have a great alternative drag scene there.
Well, I think it would be hard for us to host that show because we don't speak the language.
Would I consider it? I think we've always answered that question as Dragula is just sort of a one franchise thing worldwide. But as time goes on, I think that we're a little bit more open to the idea. And I know that the Philippines has a sick scene. Like there's a lot of creative queens that live there, and there are so many hot spots all over the world. So I would be open to it.
I think I would, if we were going to do it, I think I would like to have it be Europe focused first. Because I think, like, especially in the UK, there's so many, like, scary monster queens that it would be fun to give all those people a chance at one. And not do it every year over and over. Just do, like, a special one season there. It could be kind of fabulous.
Yeah, I agree.
Anonymous writes, My question pertains to season 1. I know your relationship with World of Wonder and Drag Race can be a bit strange at times, but I'm curious to know your thoughts on Raja and Raven covering the Boulet Brothers Dragula season 1 on their YouTube show, Fashion Photo Review. Candidly, it was my first time being exposed to Dragula's type of artistry, and it got me interested in watching. Since then, I haven't looked back, and both of you, as well as the show, are a huge inspiration to me.
Well, Anonymous, you basically cut to the heart of it in your question. Because I think the reason why we got that support at the beginning was because, these are like sort of like fledgling, burgeoning queens that are trying to get their own thing going. Let's support them. So Raja and Raven, who we know both on the side from just LA Nightlife, we're like, yeah, let's review Dragula. It's cool. But then I think the show got too cool for World of Wonder. Like it got a little bit too noticed, and for them to broadcast what other queens were doing on another show. And obviously, like you said, your experience was, this was my gateway to Dragula. So they wanted to sever that because not everybody is out to support and promote other.
And why would they?
People.
I mean, that, it's a business thing. It's two different shows. But I think initially they thought, we love the Boulet Brothers. They're so creative. We'd had tons of meetings with them. And also for people at home that may not know this, we were the first drag artists that did panels at DragCon that were not on Drag Race. Mm-hmm. We did like the first year we did a fashion panel with James St. James. The second year we did a rock and roll panel with Alaska and Henry Rollins. Mm-hmm. And
third year we did a Dragula panel.
Yeah, and I think they were more supportive when they just thought we were like really creative, cool filmmakers. But I don't think they ever thought. I think they underestimated us and didn't realize like this is a real show and this is, which is fun. Like I said, I get it. Like if you thought it was one thing and then you're like, wait a minute, this show might be like kind of competing with us on a weird level.
I get it too, but I got to say it. It doesn't have to be that way. Just because you succeed doesn't mean you should try to stop someone else from succeeding. In fact, if you help them, imagine the cool stuff we could have done and cross kind of pollinated with what they can do.
Yeah, but you're thinking of it as an artist instead of a business person.
Which is my challenge in life.
Yeah.
Like that is definitely a challenge for me.
It's a good challenge to have. One's certainly more fun than the other. I gotta go run payroll. Now, as far as Raja and Raven covering the show, at the time I thought it was cool because it exposed their crowd to our show. But I did think that the commentary was a little kind of lowbrow at the time. Yeah, I felt like they didn't get it. And people think of Raja as like an alternative sort of queen or someone that's artistic. But I just felt like it went over their heads, the whole concept. I think it was so opposite of Drag Race that the commentary, I was like, this is just not super helpful.
I didn't really have the vocabulary to engage with it the way that, definitely not the way that fans of Dragula engage with the show now.
Yeah.
At all. Luna from Brisbane, Australia asks, we had a big few weeks of Real Housewives finales and drama, so I was curious if you had any thoughts you wanted to share. That is, if you've been watching.
What do you mean? Well, okay. I'm going to pull the string.
Okay.
Salt Lake City was amazing this year.
Salt Lake City was amazing.
Best season of Housewives in a very long time.
Well, I think it's right up there with the most current season of Orange County. Orange County was exceptional this year too.
My favorite, and this wasn't from the season, but this is a Salt Lake City moment, when they were all at the dinner and Meredith drunkenly gets up and goes to the waiter and is like, I need security. I need you to remove a guest. I am the hostess and she's being very unruly. I'd like you to escort her out. And the waiter's looking at her like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Oh my God.
Let's talk about the husband.
So rude.
So what else is we're watching Traders. That's good.
Yeah.
Salt Lake City we like.
Yes, love Salt Lake City. I really think Bronwyn is an amazing addition to the cast. Like for a first season addition, she is incredible. It's like she's been up there with Heather and the hard hitters for years. But it's
Dorinda level. Like that's unusual that you bring on someone for the first season.
Yeah.
And they make that much of an impact. Jen Pedantry is not doing it, even
No.
though she's not. She thinks she is, but she's not.
No, but she did bring it last season, though.
I know, but she's against my girl, so I don't like her.
Oh, and of course we've been watching Beverly Hills as well, and it's been enjoyable. I think I've not seen Kyle painted in this light before, and it's been like 14 years. So I think she's finally getting her villain season. You're kind of seeing the grimier side.
Well, I know I have some tea on that.
Okay.
So, you know, the whole she texted PK, all that stuff. You know, we know some people that like work on the show or whatever. She texted Dorit and PK allegedly at the same time. And Dorit is acting like that didn't happen. It's never
in
getting brought
separate
up.
texts.
Yes.
Oh.
She texted both of them like, "Hey, I know you're going through this. I'm sorry. I'm your friend. I won't share anything." So she sent it to both of them. Allegedly. That's what's said.
But the only way you could corroborate that is if you had both of their phones and looked at the timestamp, that's not going to happen. So
maybe
you
it
could
will
just
at the
say it.
reunion. Who knows?
Bring the receipts.
Yeah.
Bring the receipts.
Receipts, proof, timeline. Ian's like, fucking kill me. All right, let's go on to the next question.
Ooh, I'm undead. Isaac from Portland, Maine asks, would you star in Swanthula and Drakmorda's high school reunion, a remake of Romy and Michelle's high school reunion, but in the world of 1993's Addams Family Values?
Sure.
Please
why not?
write it.
Sure, yes.
Yes, please
More.
write it. I'm in.
Denis writes, my question is, do you plan on releasing the season 666 soundtrack? I've been obsessed with the floor show tracks and especially the Boulet entrance theme since this past season aired.
Oh, I love to hear that.
Me too.
I wasn't sure how people were going to receive the change up because the last one we had, the first one was such a banger
It
and
was.
everybody loved it.
I loved it too, but I did feel like, I don't know, I feel like we kind of grew out of it a little bit.
It's going to change.
Yeah.
The new one is hot.
I like it too, yeah.
And it's evil.
We are probably not going to release the soundtrack, but what I can say is our next project, we will probably release a soundtrack with some of those songs on it.
Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night. If you have any burning questions that you'd like for us to answer on air, please write to us at creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com and we'll do our best to get to it. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and review because it really matters. And you'd break my heart if you didn't and wouldn't want to do that. Until next time, Uglies. The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted and produced by Drakmorda and Swanthula Boulet, along with co-host Ian DeVogler, with music by Neuron Spectre.